Philippine Cultural Heritage. Presenters Pugo Blas Elizabeth O. and Christine Pacton. Collections and museums are examples of cultural heritage with a variety of qualities, including symbolic, historic, artistic, aesthetic, ethnological, or anthropological, scientific, and social significance. It encompasses tangible heritage such as movable, immovable, and undersea. Intangible cultural heritage or ICH and natural heritage objects, sites, and monuments. Other cultural spheres such as festivals and celebrations are not included in the concept. It includes cave drawings and industrial history. History. The Philippines has a rich history beginning from its earliest days as one of the busiest trading posts in Southeast Asia and later in the Trans-Pacific galleon trade, a period of Spanish colonization spanning three centuries, then made an indelible impression on the country. This mercurial era, along with the American occupation, played a vital role in shaping the Philippines and its people. A vivid past has left its mark all over the archipelago in many different forms that present-day visitors to the country are now discovering. The rich Philippine heritage can be experienced not only in textbooks and museums, but also in beautifully preserved historical sites across the country. A simple textbook description of a historical event comes to life upon a visit to the place where it unfolded. Isla ng Corregidor, or simply Corregidor, is now a tranquil island where the epic dramatic Battle of Corregidor took place during the last World War. In a country like the Philippines, where history is kept alive, one doesn't need to go far to travel back in time. Cultural heritage of the Philippines. So, what are the cultural heritage of the Philippines?
Tabataha Reef National Marine Park. The Tabataha Reef National Marine Park in Palawan was the Philippines' first inclusion on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1993. The site was certified primarily for its significance to regional variety and excellence distinctions given the country's known maritime diversity. It is said to be one of the Southeast Asia's most outstanding coral reef. Tabataha Reef in the Philippines' first national marine park. It consists of two coral atolls with 100-meter perpendicular wall covering an area of 10,000 hectares. The reef has a large variety of marine life than any other similar region on the planet. Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park. The landforms of the Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park are diverse. The property's geography ranges from flat plains to rolling hinterlands, hills, and mountain peaks. The park's extensive rainforest is home to a diverse range of endemic and endangered flora and fauna. Reptiles, bird, mammals that lives in caves are the most numerous. Next is Ifugao or Banaue rice terraces and Ifugao. The rice terraces of the Philippines. Cordilleras are one of the most notable places in the country. They are high and Cordillera mountain range in the Philippines lowland tropical scenery, one of the country's World Heritage Sites. They are visited by tourists from around the world.
Fourth in the list, we have the historic city of Vigan in Ilocos Sur. Vigan is a historic city. Vigan, which dates back to the 16th century, is Asia's best preserved example of a planned Spanish colonial town. Vigan is exceptional in that much of its Hispanic colonial identity that has been retained, especially the grid street pattern and old urban layout. It is also significant in terms of how multiple architectural elements are integrated to create a cohesive townscape. It has been designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its beauty. Vigan or Ciudad Fernandina de Vigan was the most significant city after Manila and Cebu during the Spanish colonial era in the 18th and 19th centuries. In northern Luzon, it was the epicenter of Spanish colonial power. The variety of architecture that lined the plazas and streets tell the town's story. Large towering structures, such as political and religious authority, other Others speaks of low means, while Granholm speaks of affluence. Vegan was the region's political, economical, and religious and artistic center, as evidenced by the architectural ensemble. The town is a living memorial to the Spanish colonial era, and it has had a significant cultural impact on the modern Philippines. Vegan, or Ciudad Fernandina de Vegan, is known as the historic city of Vegan in Ilocos, and the third most significant city of the Philippines during the Spanish colonial era behind Manila and Cebu in the 18th and 19th century. In northern Luzon, it served as a seat of Spanish colonial power. The various structures that line the plazas and streets tell this town's story. Political or religious authority is evoked by large and imposing structures. Others speak of more modest resources, while Granholm speaks of affluence. Vegan was political, economical, ecclesiastical, and artistic hub of the region, as evidenced by the architectural ensemble. The town is a living memorial to the Spanish colonial past, and it has a distinct
Filipino and American. The United States and the Philippines have a strong trade and investment relationship with over 18.9 billion in goods and services traded during 2020. The Philippines' third largest trading partner, the United States, is one of the largest foreign investors in the Philippines. So, what is the relationship between Filipino and American? The United States and the Philippines are treaty allies under the Mutual Defense Treaty of 1951. The Philippines is the oldest security ally of the U.S. in the Southeast Asia and one of the 5 treaty allies of the U.S. in the Pacific region. What is the most important contribution of the American in the Philippines? One such policy was the introduction of the American system of education, and so pervasive and far-reaching was its impact and influence on the life and culture of the Filipino during and after the colonial period that is generally regarded as the greatest contribution of American colonialism in the Philippines.
The relationship between the United States and the Philippines has been historically strong and has been described as a special relationship. The United States was consistently ranked as one of the Philippines' favorite nation in the world, with 90% of Filipinos viewing the US.
Democracy in 1898, literacy doubled to about half by the 1930s, and a fourth of educated population could speak English. It was a massive influence for the Filipino culture, as English became the dominant language alongside the official Filipino language of the Philippines. So, and bilateral economic relations, Philippines has been the largest beneficiaries of the Generalized System of Preferences program for developing countries, which provides preferential duty-free access to the U.S. market. The relationship between the Philippines and the United States nurtured by shared history and adherence to common values, especially a commitment of freedom, democracy, and a market economy.
And peace treaties with Muslim Filipinos. So this topic, we are going to tackle about a special event in the history in which there is an agreement between the Philippine government and our fellow Muslim Filipinos countrymen, wherein they are given the privilege for self-governance or to select their own leader without interference of the government. Let us talk first about the MNLF. The MNLF, or the Moro National Liberation Front, is a political organization in the Philippines that was founded in 1972. It started as a splinter group, or a group that breaks away from a independent movement of the Moros. So this is the leading, or the first Moro group that was created. MILF, or the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, is a group based in Mindanao, Philippines, seeking an autonomous region of the Moro people from the central government. So originally, this MILF came from MNLF, but during the peace talk agreement between the MNLF and the Philippine government in 1989, the leader of the MILF, who is Hashim Salamat, have noticed that the ERMM, or the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, is still weak, and they are not autonomous enough because the government of the Philippines can still keep on intervening to their business. So that's why he created or founded the MILF in 1978. So the split of the group is mainly caused by the different perception and the different rules, and that's why until now the MILF had known to become the largest and the strongest Moro organization here in the Philippines.
In the year 1996, the central government and the Moro National Liberation Front, or the MNLF, has signed a final peace agreement granting the Muslim majority area of autonomy, which established the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao. However, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front or the MILF, separated from the MNLF in the year 1984 and rejected the peace agreement signed between the Philippine government and the MNLF in Manila in year 1996. When Benigno Simeon Cuanco Aquino III has become the 15th President of the Republic of the Philippines, he stood to put an end of the Asia's largest rebellions through a peace agreement. In March 23, 2014, the new chance for peace agreement is done after a long negotiation with the rebels. The Philippine government and Muslim rebel groups have signed a treaty to end the Asia's long and deadliest rebellions after a long decades of posing wars and threats that resulted to many catastrophic events in the country.
So let's proceed to the peace treaty. Peace treaty is an agreement between two or more hostile parties. And then the different Muslim rebels group on the southern island of Mindanao have been fighting for autonomy or independence for more than 4 decades. On March 27, 2014, the MILF, or the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, set to sign a historic peace deal in Manila. It is designed to put an end to one of the longest and most violent insurgencies in Southeast Asia. In addition, on March 27, 2014 also was the final peace agreement that signed between the government of the Philippines and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. And then this has been called a comprehensive agreement on Bangsamoro or